Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a comparison between the 2022 Ford Ranger Tremor and the 2022 Tacoma TRD Pro. Before we get into the video, I do want to mention that my car buying course is now available. Link in the description down below, so if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, go grab that. Let's get into the video. Let's start things off by going under the hood of the Ranger. So we have a turbocharged 2.3 liter 4-cylinder, goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 270 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. And again, being turbocharged makes it so it's a little bit better at higher elevation. Now, going over to the TRD Pro, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that has 278 horsepower and then 265 pound-feet of torque. So you can see that the Tacoma, although it has a naturally aspirated V6, right, has less torque, a little bit more power, and also it goes through a 6-speed automatic. So the transmission, the Ford feels a little bit quicker, a little bit more responsive. Now, moving to the front of the Tremor, you guys can see this one's finished in Cactus Gray, which is a pretty cool color. Notice there on the hood, you've got the raised portions on either side, which definitely is a cool aesthetic. You've got the LED accent lights with the projector bulbs, super bright, actually, which is another big benefit. And then you can see here with the accenting there on the center, or on the sides of the grill rather than the gray metallic on the grill, and then here on the bumper, got the fog lights down below with the tow hooks. And you do get skid plates with the Tremor package as well, so that you have some protection underneath with the truck. Now moving from the Tremor back over to the Tacoma, you guys can see here from an aesthetic perspective, I love the look of the front end. You've got the hood scoop there, and it just definitely has this like, super like muscular, brawny look. You can see the LED lights again, super bright with the accent lights. These are reflector LEDs. Notice how it says Pro there off to the side. And then you got the rigid fog lights, which again are also extremely bright, so visibility is great. Chunky Toyota logo there in the grille. You can see the sensor down below. And then you can see from a front end perspective, again, looks aggressive. Got the TRD skid plates there underneath, which kind of another accent piece, right? Because they do the red coloring on the letters to make it pop. Now, popping here to the side of the Tremor, you guys can see here for the tire and wheel setup, I got a pretty aggressive setup on the Tremor. Now, for this particular segment of truck, thing it's a little bit sad is you don't even get like 33s. Usually in this segment, they'll do like 31s, right? Sometimes 32s. But still, aggressive all-terrain tires. They're 265 millimeters for the width, if you guys are wondering. You can see the Ranger logo, the Lariat logo, and then the body-painted mirrors, body-painted door handles as well. And you can see the off-road side steps. And then I just got the Tremor badge there in the back. Do have leaf springs, and they do upgrade the shocks as part of the Tremor package as well. If you guys want to see some off-roading with the Tremor, just type in Ben Hardy Tremor off-road, because I have taken one of these off-road. Jumped it too. It's pretty fun. Popping over to the TRD Pro, same thing. So you actually have a 16-inch wheel, so a little bit smaller with the wheel. But again, 265 millimeter tires. And so they're technically like 31s, I think 32s. So nothing too crazy. And then you guys can see here with the front shocks, right? You've got the Fox shocks as part of the TRD Pro package. That's all Toyota TRD Pro. So basically they take Fox shocks and then TRD tunes them so that they are a little bit different than what you'd get if you just bought them out of the box. Oversized fender flare, you got the Tacoma logo. And then popping here to the rear, you guys can see the shocks again. So from what I can feel from a driving perspective, I do like the shocks a little bit more on the TRD Pro compared to the Ranger. But then I like the suspension more on the Ranger. Hopefully that makes sense. Shocks, TRD Pro, suspension, Ranger. Okay. Anyways, let's pop back over here to the Ranger. You guys can see the key fob with the unlock, the lock, and then the remote start. You got the Ford logo there on the back. And then here is the rear of the Ranger. So first off, popping down the tailgate, you guys can see this one doesn't have a bed liner, but it's easy to add. Payload capacity on the Ranger is going to be higher than what you have with the Tacoma TRD Pro. I think it's like 1,300, 1,400 pounds roughly. Correct me in the comment section down below. Whereas the TRD Pro is like less than, it's like 900 something pounds. So yeah, definitely a payload difference between both of them. So Ranger's a little bit more practical with that. Love the LED lights here in the back with the Ranger. Definitely distinctive. Parking sensors along the bumper there at the bottom. And then you guys can see here the exhaust tip sticking out the side. That whole setup. And yeah, there's kind of like your full view. Now here's the key fob on the TRD Pro. You guys can see pretty basic from aesthetic perspective. You do have a dampened tailgate. This one does have the composite bed. So I guess we're winning from a bed perspective a little bit with the Tacoma because it's already protected. Got an outlet there in the bed as well. Got the LED bed lights. And then notice the cargo light there at the top. It's also an LED light, which is cool. And yeah, space back there is good for a mid-sized truck. Tailgate is heavier with the Tacoma. Definitely has a nice weight to it. And then you guys can see here with the taillights. This is probably what dates the Tacoma the most is the taillights, but I think they look pretty good still to this day. Notice our blacked out TRD Pro badge. And then again, you guys can see the blacked out exhaust tip there. And the exhaust in the TRD Pro sounds pretty good, actually, for a little V6. Popping to the interior here of the Ranger. You guys can see here with the materials on the door. Nothing too crazy, but popping into the seats again, this is the Lariat, so you've got like the leather, and then they've got the inserts here in the center of the seat. Funny enough, the pre-production version of the Ranger I got didn't have the inserts in the back seats, so I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, you get the inserts front and back, you guys will see. And the side steps actually make getting in and out pretty good. They do get in the way of off-roading, though, I will say that, because they pop down pretty low. You can see the storage space right there. And just like most mid-sized trucks, you guys could see from a space perspective, nothing too crazy. And then got the outlets, all that fun stuff. And then cup holder armrest situation. And let's go to the Tacoma. Popping back into the Tacoma, you guys can see here with the door panel from a material use perspective. Again, easy to clean stuff, but not necessarily like the most luxury. And that's kind of what this segment is about, because they're supposed to be like an off-road package. I do like the red stitching, though. I thought that was definitely a nice addition with this package. And you can see a couple of cup holders right there. And you guys can see legroom and all that. Just like the Ranger, pretty cramped. But anyways, popping here to the front of the Ranger, you can see here with the padding down below, all of our window controls, and then you got the little door handle. I love the look of it. Let's a quick look at the mirrors. And then here are the front seats. Notice that it says Tremor on it. And then again, you got the inserts there in the center of the seat. And then all the stitching. Seats are power adjustable. Got the pedal layout. And then you can see with the hood latch release, light control. And then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. I love how they put the mirror adjustments there on the side. It's kind of interesting the way they do that. And then starting up the Tremor here, you guys can see kind of like the little startup graphic situation there. Here's the steering wheel. So you've got the leather trim around, stitching there in the center portion. And so you've got controls for like center stack, voice command controls, and you got adaptive cruise control, and then controls for the other side of the center stack. And then you can see a turn signal, windshield wiper stalk, that whole setup. And then popping into the center gauge cluster, you got the gauge cluster in the center, and then you have the two different sides. So the one side's for like media, and then the other side is kind of like for vehicle info. So you can see it shows like RPMs. So that's why you have two different controls in the steering wheel. The new Ranger that's coming out is going to kind of streamline this whole situation. And then notice the different drive modes, normal. And then you've got like your 3 off-road / bad weather condition drive modes. There's no sport mode with that drive mode select, but there is still a sport mode in the Ranger. You guys will see it's just in a different area, basically. And yeah, going from that to the infotainment system, you guys can see above it, we've got all the auxiliary switches. So if you want to add light bars, all that kind of stuff, you have the ability to plug that in, which is great. And then you can see the stitching on the dash. As for the infotainment system, it looks great. It's not massive like most modern infotainment systems, but it still gets the job done. Response time on everything's great. Camera system looks great. Resolution's fantastic. I guess the only thing that's a little bit sad is it doesn't have like a 360 camera system or anything, but not really necessary. You guys can see the ambient lighting, which is pretty cool to have. And then for the climate, you do get a dual zone climate system, which is another nice little luxury feature to have in a pickup truck. Analog controls for the radio down below. Climate controls, you got heated seats for the front passengers. And you got a couple 12 volts, some USBs. And then you guys can see here in this little area with stuff like the off-road cruise control, the tow mode, the locker for the rear, stability control, all that. And then your drive modes select is in the drive line select there. No 4-wheel auto, just 4-wheel high. And then you got your transmission selector for the 10-speed automatic. That is the sport mode. And then you guys can see here with the cup holders. Now center console has good storage space for a mid-sized truck, right? Got the whole glove box set up. And then you can see Ranger there on the front. And then up top here, sunglass holder, all that kind of stuff. And then the window is not power. It's manual for the operation. Pop them over to the TRD Pro. You can see here with the door panel, again, same as what you have material-wise in the rear. Got all of your window controls right there with the mirror adjustment in the normal place, right? And then you can see here at the front seat says TRD Pro on it. And then you can see with the stitching down below, finished in red. Same inserts, got the power adjustments there. Pedal layout down below. Nothing too crazy happening with that. And then notice with like the camera and stability control right there. And it'd be interesting for you guys to see the camera system on this. I want you guys to let me know what you think. I'll let you know what I think at least on it. And see, again, nothing too crazy from a startup perspective. But the gauge cluster on this is a little bit more normal, I guess is what I'll say. So here's the steering wheel. You can see with the leather all around. And then you've got your regular controls like cruise control, for example, lane departure assistance on the steering wheel, phone controls, the normal stuff, turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock. So nothing too crazy with that setup. And then here is the gauge cluster. So analog gauges for most of the setup. You do have that screen there in the center, which you can scroll through different bits of info, like you can see the off-road status of the truck, tire pressure, all that kind of stuff, which is very important if you take this off-road, especially tire pressure, so you don't drive around with flat. And then you can see here with the infotainment system, we do have a pretty good camera system. So resolution isn't as good as the Ranger, but we have more camera views with this. So you've got like the bird's eye view, you've got a front view, and you even have the side views as well. So even though the resolution is not great, there's more camera viewpoints, which is practical for off-road application. And then you can see with the rest of the infotainment system, response time with the buttons is great, and with the screen. And then down below, heated seats, dual zone climate, and then you guys can see here with the driveline select. And then we've got the blind spot monitoring, you've got the ECT power, and then that's for the power sliding window. So this one does have a power sliding window, whereas the Tremor does not. Again, remember that. It's got wireless phone charging pad, a couple cup holders, shifter for that 6-speed automatic. It does have a manual shift function. I love the look of the shifter with the red and everything. I think it looks great. Then you can see with the cup holder, center console situation, so, small like the Rangers. And then glove box setup, which is actually pretty big. That's one thing that's pretty big in the truck. And then going from that to the top, we've got some, sunroof first, but we've got some of the off-road tech up here, like the locker is there at the top. And then you got stuff like your crawl control here at the top. It's controlled via that dial for the different modes with it. So you have shift into four-wheel low to activate it, but all that stuff is at the top. And so, yeah, that's a quick comparison between the TRD Pro and the Ranger Tremor. Let me know which one you guys would pick out of them.